I've been searching for you. Can you hear my voice calling from the streets? Deep calls unto deep. The purpose of your heart is deep waters, but a wise woman of understanding will draw it out of you. Come, drink from the fountain of wisdom, for my treasures are more valuable than rubies or gold. For I give long life, honor, and you receive favor from the Most High God.
I've been waiting for you. I'm Judah Jackson, the host and content creator for Wow, Wise Woman on Wisdom. And we will be continuing our book review on Finding the Love of Your Life, 10 Principles for Selecting the Right Marriage Partner. And as you recall, last week we were on principle number 3, which was find somebody to marry that's a lot like you. Now that's saying that there doesn't have to be any differences. I mean, you might be from the United States, they could be from Japan, and very different cultures. But when you start adding up too many things, it adds too much of a weight. They might be from Japan, he might have a wealthy family background, you might have a poor family background. He might be Buddhist, you might be Christian. But see, the more that you add on, the more weight and the demand on the marriage. So marry somebody as much like you as possible. Again, some differences are okay. Now this week we're on principle number 4, a very important principle that triggered a lot of introspection for me. And that is get yourself healthy before you marry. Now, health is a holistic concept encompassing spirit, soul, and body. But we are going to target the soul, the emotional and the mental health of the individual. And so a great marriage, a healthy, vital, thriving marriage usually has 2 healthy people in the marriage. It contributes to the health and overall strength of the marriage. Now, emotional problems, when people bring it in, and we do have some baggage, but there's always a continuum. It's a degree of how much you bring in. But it does cause harm and damage in a relationship. Because inevitably, a marriage will intensify whatever problems that you have, the day-to-day challenge of living with someone and working through just different issues. It will intensify those problems. Now, the key concept or the foundation of mental health is self-conception or self-concept. Self-concept is your identity and how you feel about it. If you have a strong self-concept, you know who you are, you accept and love who you are. If you have a weak self-concept, you don't know who you are, you don't accept yourself nor love yourself. And this is the foundation of most emotional problems when you have a poorly developed self-concept. Because a marriage or relationship can only be as healthy as the people involved in it. So a fragile sense of self and not knowing who you are causes low self-esteem and low confidence. And it has a lot of emotional and mental fallout from that and repercussions. So we're going to look to evaluate your potential partner to learn and identify the self-concept, to look at it to see how well it's constructed. Not only, again, your potential spouse, but also you. It's important that you must recognize these things in yourself and others. Now, let's start with one disorder. When you don't. We're going to look at what happens when you have a poor self-concept. These are a lot of the outcomes. One is neuroses, being neurotic. Neurotic is a mental disorder where you have an overactive conscience and a distorted perception of reality, which causes a lot of psychological and physiological behaviors related to it. a lot of anxiety, a lot of fears. And it's always a continuum. What are all these that we're talking about? It can be minor to major. Sometimes it makes people a little compulsive, obsessive, like always checking for the keys and going out. Or it can be so bad that people don't want to come out of their house. So there are differing degrees, but they only affect a part of the personality, not the whole personality. So on the opposite to neurotics are sociopaths. They are the opposite. They have been under socialized, and they have an underactive or no conscience. They fail to care or understand how their behavior impacts or hurts another person, usually characterized by a lack of conscience. They feel very little guilt or remorse. Now, people that are in this continuum quite often lie and cheat consistently, continually. And that's because they have a low self-concept, which makes it difficult to make rational, sound decisions. They're oftentimes impulsive, and it's hard for them to delay gratification. And second, they, again, have been seriously under-socialized. They just have no regard for other people's feelings. But one of the challenging things here is they're oftentimes able to hide their malevolent intent, and they oftentimes appear very charming. And there's some alarming statistics in the United States that social anti-behavioral characteristics, socialized antisocial personality are on the rise in the U.S. They estimate like 5 million people have one or more of these antisocial personality or character disorders. Now, how do you spot one of these sociopaths, even if it's yourself? One of the key things, as we've mentioned, is a lack of conscience. They hurt you, or they see people get hurt, and there's no conscience. There's no remorse. There's no guilt, no shame. And again, the impulsive behavior. They don't consider their actions. Other toxic behaviors is taking advantage of someone and then blaming someone else for their actions. False humility or false high morality. And phony remorsefulness. Now, if you find that some of these characteristics are in your partner or yourself, seek professional help. Don't even think about getting married, especially if it's high on the continuum, because on the low part of the continuum, they're not as strong in sociopathology. They just might be a little insensitive. But on the high end, they could actually be a full-blown serial killer. So seek help, get help. 5 other key emotional or mental problems is important to evaluate in yourself and your potential partner is anger management. What do they do when they're angry? Do they lash out? Do they say very hurtful things? Do they throw things? Do they threaten? 4 to 6 million cases a year, reported cases of domestic violence, comes from poor anger management. So very important. And so the next is narcissism. This is an excessive self-focus of their own needs. They are not emotionally available to you because there's something inside they're really trying to cure, heal, or nurture, and they really can't serve you. They're the center of their focus. I think a lot of people misunderstand narcissists. It's not that they think they're so much and they're so special. It's just something very broken inside and needing, and that's demanding all their attention, and they can't give it to you. But it doesn't work in a marriage because you need to serve each other. Third is manic depressive personality disorder, characterized by extreme mood swings of elation and depression. This will wreak havoc on a relationship. You just can't keep up with those highs and lows. Addictions, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling. Few marriages can withstand these addictions, the partner's dependency on them. So again, get help if you have any addictions. Now, and professional help, 12-step, they have a lot of programs. And One of the final is parental issues. A lot of people have not resolved issues from their past with their parents. Parents have a tremendous, they form your self concept. You're innocent, you come in this world and you're dependent on them. But developmental influence, you need to work through them and understand what has happened, because the first caretakers, your mother or your parents, usually your mother is there the most. They teach you whether to trust or distrust. That's just foundational. Now, a healthy parent can have their own self and identity and cultivate your own identity and separate self. Therefore, you're able to be separate from others but still establish relationships with people outside of yourself, and still be able to set up fluid boundaries that open and close. However, if you lacked excuse me, the love and the nurturing that you needed when you were a child, you may have a problem separating where you end and another person. You just fuse with people and you just get confused of who you are and who they are. And you oftentimes feel cut off from people around you. So it's imperative to work through these issues and also to establish as healthy as possible relationship with your parents. Some very unusual cases you may not be able to, but it's important to try. Now, someone who has worked through and have healthy relationships with their parents will exhibit these characteristics. They're emotionally independent. They can make decisions without having to run and ask advice all the time from their parent, or make decisions to please their parents. And two, they're able to separate their relationship with their parents with their own personal relationship, meaning that your relationship with a mate, you know that it doesn't have to be like your parents. This is what your parents do, but this is not what we may do. And they're able to set boundaries with their parents, how far the parents go in and what they say and their influence. Now, when you're not able to do this to achieve a healthy relationship with your parents, here are some of the problems. The child keeps running back to the parents, asking all advice, and they can't even make decisions by themselves, or very difficult. Two, the person relates to the opposite sex like their parent. Excuse me. Like the wife would treat her husband like her dad, and they're two different people, or the husband would treat his wife like his mother, which can cause problems. Excuse me. Or three, the boundaries aren't set, and the parents intrude and violate the couple's boundaries. So we've heard a lot of the dysfunction. What does it mean to be emotionally healthy? One, there's an inner security. You're at peace and confident with who you are. Two, there's a respect for truth, recognizing that truth is based on external values and absolutes, that you're just not making stuff up. And and you usually strive to find the truth, because you recognize that it leads to a deeper meaning and better relationships and a more satisfying life. Three, you understand the importance of collecting information, learning. Usually they're good listeners because they want to know, what you're saying and to understand you. And four, they weigh that information. They synthesize the information to carefully filter through their own values and beliefs to assign their moral codes and their values, to assign value to various information that they're receiving, so they can come up with solid decisions and make solid decisions. And one that's most important is authenticity. Based on the knowledge of their self-concept, they know who they are. With courage and total commitment to that knowledge, they live in accordance with their inner moral code. They state their opinions honestly, and they consistently behave in the defined character. They're regular. Who they are is, no matter what, that's who they are, where they are. There's a natural confidence that leads to humility. There's an easy state of being. There's not that anxiety and nervousness usually. So how to become healthy? If this isn't you, and you have some issues there, or your spouses, number one thing is to find a source of unconditional love, the kind of love that you needed in the beginning to develop and be healthy. Now, it says friends, relatives, church congregations, therapists. I'm going to put my caveat on this. I have found some of the healthiest groups to connect with that brought health and healing to me is connecting with people that are active in the community. Either they're taking a class, they're volunteering, they might be playing sports in a contest, but those people are healthy enough to get outside themselves and to connect with others, and then select a group or people that align with your passion. Say you love video games. Get a group that loves video games, or your horseback riding or cooking, because you have a lot in common. They understand each other. You share your passion. It's easier to connect. Personal story. I lived a mile away from the Michael Jackson trial, the big one. It was 10 charges. So I went up there and shot a video about his fans. These are the most loyal fans that he had. They came from all over the world, some of them, to be there. And they love Michael, and I love Michael. And so immediately, when you connected, you just like you were family, like you've known them for years. They were giving, they were close, and we all had that same in common that we all love Michael Jackson. So it's easier if you have that passion, and if you're kind of shy, it's easier to get outside yourself because you have that passion. 2 is learn to love yourself. It helps when you're in a community because they're saying things and they're seeing you through their eyes and compliments, but take an effort, because the Bible says in Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. Be patient and kind with yourself, even if you see you have some issues you need to work through. Don't beat yourself up. Know that your past, you couldn't change how you were socialized, but you can work through it now. And do nice things for yourself. Buy stuff for yourself. Cook a meal or go someplace. Travel. Do something that's good for yourself. And 3, find those who can regularly encourage you. Sometimes you'll find some members in a church that can, or some kind of group that meets regularly. It could be, again, a good therapist, a good caring therapist. It's important to find the right one. Again, I recommend that you Google and find out how to find a good therapist, because you can find the wrong one, and that's a bad thing too. And 4, cultivate relationships with people that is a consistent support system. So again, something that you're going to regularly connect with. It could be an extended family member because you're going to be connected to them. Could be in church, but consistently to help, stand by you and help you commit to change and help you from regressing back into unhealthy habits. So basically, how to become healthy is we need to be reparented again if we haven't been healthily reparented from the beginning, in a kind and loving way with genuinely healthy people. Our quote for today, I have 2 quotes and they complement one another. The first is by Rumi. It is, "The wound is where the light enters." Second is from the Bible, 2 Corinthians 2:9. And this is what Paul said. He'd been praying to God. There was some kind of affliction, illness, something in his body they called a thorn in his side. He was praying to God to take it out of him. And this is God's, to heal him. But this is God's response. He said, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is perfected in weakness." God, it said, like, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God. God works through weakness. So that's an approach that a lot of people, a lot of experts don't look at, but God works through weakness. So don't be discouraged if there's things you need to work through. So family, if this video has added value to your life, please like, share, and subscribe. And until we meet again, go with love.